Make mine a 99. Tonight, due to the dedicated services of the Army Corps of Engineers, we will be presenting live from the stages of Burbank, California, the last of the double-digit Jabberjawns. That's right, episode 99. Over 14 years of script writing, endless rehearsals, performing our own stunts, the infighting and whispered insults, the bickering over who gets the most ink in the press, the award ceremonies, the long bus rides for public appearances at everything from car dealership openings to birthday parties for rich teenage kids who weren't even born when we first began the show. It's been a memorable ride. Next week, we roll over into triple digits, and our lawyers will be calling our lawyers. But for tonight, we are at peace. The weather is gorgeous. The sounds of mourning doves and hawk-tailed minor birds fill the air. The crisp Rocky Mountain waters gently roll and tumble past our open cabin window, and the sweet fragrances of nature fill our heads with juicy fruits. Make yourself comfortable. Hold your partner's hand and free yourself to laugh even if the jokes aren't funny and the drinks are watered down. We're all family. Give us a break. We just work here. See you tonight on 99. We saved you an illustrated program. Jabberjawn! Jabberjawn! Oh my gosh, dude. That was hard to read because I wanted to laugh. Yeah, good.
Three little frogs sitting on a log. One of them fell in. One frog said to the other frog, well, you better go get her. Two little frogs sitting on a log. One of them fell in. The last little frog, he sat and thought, good thing they can swim. Jabberjaw, 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 Jabberjaw. Three little frogs sitting on a log. One burst into a grin. One frog said to the other frog, wonder what's got into him. Two little frogs sitting on a log. One laughed until he was red. The last little frog, he sat and thought, it must have been something I said. Jabberjaw,
89.
Jabberjaw,
Yeah, that's
Jabberjaw.
well, me 28 times. I know you're at least 35. I know you're weird. Yeah, but that's good. Sorry. Go ahead and start us off here.
So is that all counts as YouTube?
Here we go.
And we're live. How about that? Welcome to Jabberjawn. I'm Nathan Moore.
I'm Kyle Hogg.
I'm Steve Moore.
It's good to be with you again. It's a beautiful spring day here. It's Kethler's birthday. And so we have a lot to celebrate, and it's just good to be together. Welcome back. Arriving song. I've been trying to learn this one on Dobro. It ain't easy, so whatever psychic support you can give me. Trying to catch me a Jesus. Damn, that man is smooth. I'm trying to catch me a Jesus in this motel room. There's a Bible on the nightstand, shadows on the bathroom wall. Trying to catch me a Jesus, but he don't come when I call. Well, my mom has got her a Jesus. Maybe I can just take hers. My Grandmom's got her a Jesus, worn around her neck like pearls. My granddad's got him a Jesus, he caught his in the war. I'm trying to catch me a Jesus like those that came before. That's the hard part. Well, I set a snare in the forest, I threw a net in the sea. Everywhere I go, I dig a little hole and cover it with sticks and leaves. I'm under covers now with a flashlight, trying not to breathe. Trying to catch me a Jesus, they say he can set me free. Why is that so hard? My dad caught him a Jesus at the end of a fishing pole. He had a long talk with that Jesus, decided to let him go. Now that Jesus gets a little bigger every time the story is told. Trying to catch me a Jesus, I want me a Jesus of my own. Yeah, I want me a Jesus of my own.
Yeah.
That hook is so hard.
Yeah.
It's even harder when people are watching. Before y'all got here, I was crushing that part. But as soon as it's so funny how that can just stiffen up your performance.
Yeah.
It's like someone watching you parallel park.
Oh, tight.
Oh, now you're definitely going to hit everything.
How do you play without resting that on anything? It's just like hovering in the air.
What do you mean?
Like you're playing it, but it's not like rested on your knee or anything.
Oh, it's sitting on my other knee.
Well, I know that. but-
Straps.
Oh,
Can
that.
I interrupt a second? What you just did was a guy in a baseball game going 3 for 4. It's a line drive off the fence, and then the last time up, but the game's out of reach, he strikes out. And after the game, all he talks about is the time he struck out.
Yeah, that's the way
You
it
just
goes.
nailed that song, son.
Oh, well, thank you.
Come
Thank
on,
you. I
baby. Back
appreciate that.
the tape up, and let's talk about that for a second. I guarantee you just nailed it all the way around.
It is true. If you play to a crowd of 100 people and one of them thought the show was terrible, what are you going to think about that? What will you be tossing and turning in bed that night thinking about? Like, why did that guy not
exactly.
like it? He hated it.
Because there's a million reasons for them not to like it. There are good reasons for them. You know, might be some childhood trauma we don't know about.
Right, yeah, that's true.
Or
But
they,
maybe to steel man it, maybe the generous thing there is that the one person that didn't like it, as an artist, you see that as the one opportunity for growth.
well, certainly.
The rest of it is like, yeah, okay, they liked it, that's fine, but this gives me something to do. This one person that didn't like it, that's some marching orders there.
Yeah, if they're giving you a critique, that's one thing.
Right.
If they're just telling you you're wrong,
Right.
then,
You suck.
then you just have to take that from where it comes. But you're right. That's how you learn.
Mm-hmm.
You get that honest criticism is what growth should be based on.
Right. Yay. We went and saw Fruition on Saturday night. Grayson, oh, by the way, y'all can't see behind the cam, but we have a whole team back here operating the buttons.
Yes.
And the Parks, Lex and Lex Jr. Are you a Lex Jr. or Lex the second?
Second.
What's the difference? I guess we can't hear you. So shout your answer.
I guess there is no difference, man. I should be a junior, right?
I think technically the way the naming goes, conventions go, junior would have been it, but Corey and I just thought it was cooler to go straight to the Roman numerals.
Mm-hmm. Is there a distinction between a junior and a second? Is it just the
I always thought you'd be junior and then second, but I didn't know that. Just what I assumed. The junior would be first, and then you would say that you used up one, so now it's the second.
No, but
What?
that would be the third.
I almost feel
That's
like
what
they're
I'm saying.
interchangeable.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hear that too. That's just my perspective.
Right.
I'm not even going to
You're
tell you who I
entitled
voted for.
I got laughed at because, and I realized 30 seconds after I asked this question that it was a stupid question. But say he got married, so he's Lex Park Jr. No, let's say he's Lex Park Jr. Does his wife become Deborah Park Jr.? And they're like, no, she's not a junior. She's just Deborah Park.
Right.
And so they were all laughing at me. I was like, oh, that was a pretty
A junior
dumb
doesn't
question.
carry over.
I just got to make a quick comment that my mother's name is Deborah.
Oh, wow.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Wow. We were
gosh.
like, what?
Kyle had no idea.
His mom's name was Deborah. That's
Kyle had no idea, but my mother's name was Deborah.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Whoa.
crazy.
Amazing. I mean,
We're
Let's hear it for
A
Kyle.
little bit of telepathy going on here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
Apparently, Hunter.
It's up. Just like, oh, she's watching the show.
I know. She must be watching.
tuning in.
We haven't started watching it yet, but Hunter, Joe's wife, my brother's wife, has been listening to this telepathy podcast that we all have to listen to now. Apparently, Catherine and I are definitely gonna check it out so we can talk to her about it. But she's like, it's changing her whole perspective of how life works.
Wow.
Because apparently there's some pretty convincing anecdotes in this thing about the existence of telepathic occurrences.
Like between us or like from passed away people?
I shouldn't
or-
even have started this because we haven't listened to it.
Okay.
And so Hunter hasn't even told us too much because she wants us to hear it first so we can really have the conversation. But maybe I can put a link in the Discord or something. We can all get on it and listen to it and check it out.
No, this is like
Do y'all have any thoughts on telepathy or any stories that have...
Not of a real strong personal note.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard stories, but I don't know. Yeah, for me personally, I see, I don't know, serendipity
Mm-hmm.
as a version of telepathy. How sometimes it just comes together at the right time, and if it does, it's magical, and it's something that changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's. I mean, what is that? Is that telepathy? Is it magic? Is it molecules? Is it quarks? Is it science? Is it philosophy? Is it words?
Mm-hmm. It is true.
You
when
know,
when
but
look-
it's, as far as I'm sorry. to
No,
interrupt,
please.
But just to say that I can remember a case where, I mean, I intuit things. I have a very good deductive Sherlock Holmes type brain. So I think a lot of things out, and I'm wrong a lot of times, but I'm right my share of times. And when I'm right, it's almost like telepathy because you're, well, I knew that, but you really just predicted it. So I'm not sure I've stepped over that more than a few times in my life, and those were, magical moments. But I don't know. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
This isn't necessarily telepathy related, but inspired by what you just said. It is sort of fascinating when you look back on your life and all the great big moments that were life changing all seem like miracles. It doesn't the fact that it's in retrospect doesn't remove the magic. It almost heightens it. When I look back at the crossroads or people that I met or things where things came together, talk about serendipity. All those life-changing moments seem like little miracles in retrospect. It's like, how did that happen? I just don't even understand. I mean, I've definitely lived a blessed life, so maybe I'm projecting and everybody can't relate to this, but can you relate to that?
Well, I do. I completely relate to that. But now when you start thinking about that, I was like, man, if you believe in that, do you believe that you've missed some things that were supposed to be there for you? I've never thought that before, but I just like, man, this just worked out that I met this person, or I was playing at this show and this person came over and talked to me, or you met some girl at a bar or whatever. Then when you were talking about it, I was like, man, I got all paranoid. Like, man, is there something I missed?
I like to think not, but it is worth pondering.
Like it was set up.
There's
It was
parallel
set up,
lives
yeah.
that could have happened for
Yeah.
sure.
Like, how did you not notice that?
But I would think that we missed it so squarely that there's no way
Right.
we'd be able to recognize it
Right.
now as any possibility. But boy, I just shared on my all access section of my website now this the original Surprise Me Mr. Davis record, and I on during practice a couple nights ago I was playing this song and there was this one instrumental song I wrote that we put words to on the first Surprise Me Mr. Davis record, and I shared it on the practice, and then I was like, I should put that recording up on all access. So then I went and I found a folder with that record and went to put it on the website and realized it was missing 3 of the songs that were on the record. And I was like, oh. And so I started pulling out hard drives and I couldn't find it anywhere. Ended up tearing the basement apart, going through every little stack of CD, and realized I couldn't find a copy of it. I don't have it. I was like, I don't even have this. I did end up finding the one copy that was in this whole basement back in the under the porch, but it sort of ties into what we're talking about because I just met this band called The Slip, and I just started this little record label with my friend John Treadwell in Santa Fe called Frogville, and so I went to visit my new friends in The Slip up in Boston, and I flew up there. Or drove my van up there, and I didn't know these guys at all, but we'd met at High Sierra Music Festival, and like, oh yeah, we should get together, and we were just young, and boy, life was a little bit different there. I think I'm gonna come up for the weekend and get in your van and drive up to Boston. I can't even imagine doing a thing like that now, but at the time it was no big deal. So I drove up there, and the day I get there, the biggest blizzard that in 20 years hit Boston, and the whole place was shut down. And so I'm here in the Barr Brothers apartment. We just got snowed in. We don't know each other that well, but they just bought this recording gear, and so we're like, let's record some stuff. And we just ended up for the next like 4 days making this little record by accident, and it was just all the serendipity of it. And during the whole process, I would say our mantra became surprise me. Like Andrew would be like, I'm going to run to the grocery store, or I'm going to run to the convenience store and get us some cigarettes and some more beer and some chips or whatever stuff we lived on back then. And we'd be like, well, what should we do while you're gone? Surprise me. And that just became the mantra. Like, oh, what should I do on this? I don't know. Surprise me. And then all of a sudden we get this message on Brad's voicemail, and it's this woman with this amazing eccentric voice, and she goes, oh, Mr. Davis, You're having fun with that recording. I guess you guys are snowed in. I bet you're drinking a lot of hot chocolate. Have a nice day. Goodbye. So it was some lady that called a wrong number, heard Brad's eccentric outgoing message, and was like, "Oh, Mr. Davis, you're..." thought her friend had put this weird music as his outgoing message. So these are just so many levels of serendipity they're having. I just started this label. I was like, you know what? We should put these 12 songs that we just recorded out on my new label in Santa Fe. But it was such a whimsical recording. We were just playing around. Nobody wanted to put their name on it. You know, they were an established band. And so we decided to put it out on the label anonymously and called it Surprise Me, Mr. Davis. And drew these little stick figures with our left hand and released it on Frogville anonymously with no credits on the record, no musician credits. Nobody knew who was playing what or who it was. It just came out as Surprise Me, Mr. Davis, just as a fun little release. You know, cut 20 years later, it became a band that put out, you know, several records, crisscrossed the country several times under the heading Surprise Me, Mr. Davis. But that all just came together without the blizzard, without that phone call, without Surprise Me becoming our silly little mantra. Just so many little things just fell into place, and it all just blossomed from that. And I'm sorry that was a little long-winded, but once I started telling the
that
story...
was a great story. I enjoyed hearing that. That was a fine tale. I like that. I learned a couple things there and remembered a few things.
So when you went back, how long was it till you saw him again?
Oh, it was funny because so then I left and Frogville did actually put out that record, a CD, Surprise Me, Mr. Davis, and then like a few months later, Andrew calls up and they're like, well, you know what? Maybe we should do a little tour to promote the record. And this is all not thinking as businessmen, but thinking as young guys that wanted to hang out, wanted to keep hanging out and having fun together. Like, we have fun together. And so we decided we booked a little Northeast tour. They booked it, and we had Leslie Helpert open, and we started talking. I was like, we should all wear suits. And so we all wore suits, and it was funny because the Slip was a really important, significant band back then, and they were really deep. A lot of their music was instrumental, like avant jazz kind of stuff. Like
Amazing.
They weren't, but just like talk about telepathic. Anybody watching the Slip back then was completely convinced they were telepathic because they would all just turn on a dime. They'd be doing one thing, and then all of a sudden they were somewhere else. And you're like, how are they doing this? And so their fan base was pretty diehard. And when Surprising Mr. Davis did it, people heard that, like, oh, the Slip's doing this, like, Surprising Mr. Davis thing. And this was back in the, like, Thought Swap Parlor days where forums were a whole thing. And, boy, we got out on that little... And we were just doing it as sort of a farce, as a way to entertain ourselves, an excuse to hang out together again. It wasn't something we were taking very seriously at all, but we all wore suits, and we did this Surprising Mr. Davis thing, and some of the Slip fans were not a fan. They were. This is their favorite band. This was like transcendent instrumental jazz and like all of a sudden, I remember one person was like in the forum, like, "Who's this drunk Gary Busey?" Referring to me, like becoming a front man for my favorite band. Like there was some definite disdain in the forum. And Leslie, our opener, she's an angel, amazing artist herself or whatever, but she was the one that like took off her gloves and was in there like defending me on the forum and stuff. It was scandalous. It was fun.
Well, that had to hurt now. It wasn't all fun.
Oh, yeah, you're right. There was a part of me that was already like wondering how in the hell I managed to get myself on stage with these incredible musicians. Like
Well, it eventually evolved into the whole thing.
It definitely did.
It didn't. That was just a phase it went through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For what it's worth, I was in their fandom, for sure, early '90s, and I was on the side of the fandom that kind of surprised me as the antithesis to the Slip, whereas it was more heady, complex music, and this was like songs
Mm-hmm.
that you could sing and maybe more generally relate to just as a song
Mm-hmm.
instead of a piece of music, that they were known for, I mean, they had great songs too. Eisenhower's one of my favorite albums,
Yeah, I mean, they were getting more. That was one of the reasons they had a gravity towards me, and why Brad really wanted to spend more time with me, because he wanted to write songs, and he wasn't really at the time. And he's like, "Oh man, I'm gonna steal everything this guy is doing, like this, like he in a fun way.
Right.
Like this is we grokked, he was getting something.
Oh,
they were
cool.
getting something. You listen to the Bar Brothers now, and it's like, there's a lot of Nathan Moore Easter eggs throughout the Slip catalog and the Bar Brothers catalog.
No, they still around? Or?
Now they're the Bar Brothers.
Okay.
The Slip was a trio, two brothers and Mark Friedman on bass, and then the brothers ended up moving to Canada and started the Bar Brothers. But they're a very, very successful band, and they have a new album coming out that is amazing. It's really good. It's got a special Friends preview listen of it, and very inspiring, very cool. But Lex was in the crowd at a Virginia Beach gig. He went to see one of his favorite bands, The Slip. And I guess that's the first time we ever, I don't know if we actually officially met, but he was in the crowd.
That was the
when
night you and I met.
Surprising Mr. Davis did a surprise appearance because they were in Virginia. So I drove down, and during the Slip set break, we went back and all put on suits and came out as Surprising Mr. Davis. Maybe one of the only times Surprising Mr. Davis did a complete surprise set that wasn't announced or planned, where the entire audience was like, "What the hell is going on now?"
What's the name of the organ player?
Marco Benevento.
He's so good. I
he's
always liked him.
Yeah. What a wonderful spirit he is too.
Yeah.
Very generous,
Yeah,
happy spirit.
I always thought he was great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were all great, but I hadn't heard his name mentioned when you talked about that. Wanted to give him his prop.
Yep.
Well, you just pretty much did a good commercial for the Bar Brothers. I'm going to go ahead and do my commercial.
Oh, you got a commercial. All
Yeah, I've picked up a few sponsors, and you'll hear about them, but I'm going to tell you about one right now. And this is a national group of people, and one of the things I don't like in the world today is advertising. And I could go on and on. We could do 3 or 4 weeks on
Your
advertising.
Duck and the gecko lizard.
Oh yeah, we could just go on and on. Well, the people I'm talking about, that I'm talking nice about now, they have some dumb commercials with the bears, and you wiping their butts, and that's just not right.
Wait, what is this for?
Well, it's for the product that I'm espousing. And I'm telling him right before I came, I've decided, because I used the last roll, and I picked it up and I looked at it and I said, these people know what they're doing. And it's Charmin Extra Soft.
Oh, Charmin Extra Soft.
Charmin Extra Soft. And a person in our condition, this is the ad they ought to do. Instead of that bear wiping his nose, put a good-looking older man up there and say, if you're wiping your butt as much as I am, you're going to appreciate Charmin Extra Soft. By golly, buy that the next time you're at the store and thank me. I'm signing off. And that's a
Well,
name.
you know, that's so good. We might have to quiet the dog and get you to do a take two here. We might, because this, I feel like they're gonna see it. When we send them this, this is gonna open up a whole new chapter in all of our
and
lives.
then while we're waiting for him, you develop an AI version of me talking like that.
I don't know. AI is not going to be able to mean it like you do.
Well,
AI has never wiped its butt once. Never will.
I don't think you're right
It just
about
doesn't
that.
get it.
We
On some telepathic level, it's not going to be able to communicate.
This is better. The real thing is better, huh?
Hey, Grayson, will you go pet Percy real quick? Just that'll distract him.
we can go back and put the frog's head on you again.
Nah.
Could you do that? Could you go back and put the frog's head on him again?
Oh yeah.
Like the-
in
for the
post
early
we can do
days?
anything. 100%.
Oh, what's getting ready to happen?
Just carry on what you're doing.
Gosh, thought you were getting doing Karate Kid over there or something.
Lex is behind the camera going like this. I swear to you. I don't know what he's about to drop kick, but this match is about to be over.
He's remembering that slip, incredible Surprise Me, Mr. Davis show. And he was geeking out in the audience.
All right, take two. Camera on Dad.
All right, here we go.
What? I'm not going to do that.
Well, the
again.
dog was barking. It was really good. I really
Can't
you
do it
can't
again.
do it again.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, I can't.
It's like a
do-
magic trick. You can't do it twice in a row.
No, it wouldn't. No, it'd be less sincere.
You got anything else that you want to promote?
Yeah, that you
Well,
had
while
your
I
Wilford Brimley. Just, I mean, I'm gonna go out and get some extra soft, even though I'm the civilized person that uses a bidet. I still am gonna get me some of this extra soft Charmin.
it's the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if you don't have a problem, it's just an enjoyable experience.
Right.
Nathan, what are you doing in there? Just white man.
I didn't even.
I mean,
It's
you
not
don't-
even dirty.
You don't even have to lie anymore. You know how you used to. That's where we've gotten, ladies and gentlemen. We don't even have to lie anymore. That's great.
That's the new motto. Charmin extra soft. You don't even have to lie anymore.
Uh-oh, Dad's got notes.
Oh,
I mean, yay, Dad's got notes.
I heard that.
I didn't say it. You
I
did.
know. I'm looking at you for confirmation.
Look at that cute little piece of paper.
I think I have
Think
a,
about it, that it's torn out of a spiral.
It was just a little
I have a
short
poem.
little thing.
Oh, wow.
I wrote a
Is it
poem.
about your toilet paper?
Charmin
What?
extra soft. Oh, lo, how the.
This was right before. I was writing it while I was on the toilet. This is right before the Charmin Extra Soft. Let's see. All right, I'm looking at the camera.
I'm worried about Grayson now.
You want Lex to read it?
Did Percy kill Grayson?
Oh yeah,
I don't want Grayson to hear your poem.
Who wants to go up next?
I can't read it. I don't think. Let's see.
Keep stalling because I don't want Grayson to miss it.
All right, I'm just gonna read this short version
Hey,
of
Grayson,
it.
you got to hear this poem.
No, he doesn't.
It's about him.
No, it's not.
Tearing down the step.
Roses are red. Grayson.
That's not right. What you just said was the wrong thing to say.
What did
about
he
him?
say?
He said that this poem was about him.
Oh, uh-oh.
And the first line is, I love you.
Oh, that's
And now I'm
sweet.
going to be
Awkward.
embarrassed.
Apparently,
awkward.
Dad wrote a poem about you, Grayson.
God damn. All right.
And,
man. I'm flattered.
and your wife, Deborah. Don't be embarrassed by how you feel about somebody.
You're really getting under my skin tonight. I have never thought about physical violence and you in the same sentence until tonight. I'll tell you, you were real close.
Okay, I'll calm
Because
down.
I know how big old boy are you. I'm not that impressed.
I'll calm down.
Yeah, I think you better calm down. I don't see that look in your eye.
I'm gonna smash this beer bottle over the end of the table.
Yeah, I've heard about your story with beer bottles. That's why I asked you what that was earlier. What'd you say it was?
Oh, this could be one of our sponsors. I
Oh,
know.
new sponsor.
Corona.
Pumpkin.
Sunbrew Citrus.
It's from last October.
I drank half of it in October. I've been saving the rest.
He's been saving it.
In the back of the refrigerator,
I found it. It was sitting next to it.
next to that
Half
green
rotten.
What
cheese.
kind is it? Tangerine or something?
Yeah, some I don't know. Sunbrew. It's got lime and lemon on it.
Oh, lime and lemon. It's a spring flavor.
If somebody if you're hanging out, you're snowed in, and somebody says, "Surprise me, bring this back," you'll be the most unwanted person at the whole snowed in apartment. That's what you brought back.
That was almost a commercial.
Almost.
That was almost a commercial. A little more inflection.
Okay, we're all in position for the poem now. Yeah, there he is. All right, now we're all ready. We're all here.
Good person's
All right,
here.
Dad.
All right. I love you. I love you because you're a thoughtful person. I love you because you're a good friend and your family. And it don't get any better than that. Happy birthday, Kethra.
Oh,
Dang.
And that can last forever.
that's beautiful.
I don't know what we say now, but maybe sing.
Just sit in silence for a second.
Think
No,
of,
they can edit that out and say it was for Grace, and so he can watch whatever version you want. No, what was this owl story you wrote? Was that a true thing, or was it in your head?
Oh, I missed that one. What was the owl story?
it was actually, I found that in a journal from 2016, and it was just what I was working on was a book about teaching.
Okay.
So it was a little story about teaching. It was a lesson about that you could use if you were thinking about kids and teaching and thinking, and it was just an example of a teacher teaching. And it could have been me, but I made it up.
I was wondering if you made it up or that really happened.
Well, pieces of it happen, and then you put it together and make a story.
Right.
Let's hear it. I don't know what we're talking about yet.
Well, I'd have to read it. I mean, I read it in the journal, and I had written it, and then I wrote it on Facebook and posted it as a Facebook post. So go to my Facebook page,
Okay.
and you could do that.
This is our reading episode.
Well, I didn't read very long. I don't
You
know
want
if
me to read
y'all
it?
understand. I want you to read it, but I want to say this, that I don't know if y'all understand that there's a little bit of animosity going on here between these two chairs. That is just an undercurrent, and
That's why I mentioned it in the thing today, the bickering.
he's yeah, exactly. It's we're not. I'm pretty sure. And I need a ride home. That's the reason I don't think there's going to be any physical display of violence.
That's the reason it won't be until like 9:30 when I get the text from him. I'm like, what in the world?
We just haven't been the same since the big photo shoot for Newsweek there, where Kyle kept putting himself front and center, right? Like we were sidekicks or something.
It was terrible.
I was trying to get in the front row like I was some drunken Gary Busey.
The star.
A story. Why are owls wise? The students mulled. I believe mulling is good for you. Finally, one lad raised his hand and said, "'Cause they sit around all day and think about stuff." I smiled. Jimmy jumped in. "'Cause they're always asking questions." Everyone looked at him. He dramatically cupped his hands around his mouth and called, "Hoo, hoo." He got his well-deserved laughter. I smiled. Barry, a shy little boy with glasses, raised his hand. "It's their eyes. They don't look like birds' eyes." More mulling. Another hand. Katie said, "Yeah, most birds have eyes on the side of their heads. The snakes. Like snakes," she said with a fake shiver. I said, "True. Most scientists agree that birds develop from reptiles." Barry jumped in. "Yeah, I think they're wise because they look like us." "So, Barry, do you think owls are wise?" Barry said, "I don't know, but if they are, it's not because they look like us." Barry was wise beyond his years. And then math class began. Nice.
Yeah, that was fun. And I put that on Facebook just to record it, to get it into the world, because if it stayed in that journal, it might not ever be seen again. So that's what I'm doing now. Is I'm going back through. What I'm thinking right now is that I'm not being nearly as creative as I was just a few years ago, but I am looking at things now as more of a collating time. And I know you do a lot of collating, but you know,
It's a good use of when the juices aren't flowing. And organize all the times it was.
Yeah. Well, I got some specific ideas as I approach the end of my time of being able to do stuff like this. It's just a number of days left, you know, for all of us, but to do anything. So I want to get started on the getting my, like the journals I was talking about, that there's some gold in there. It's like a mining operation, but you're going to have to get somebody to go in there and dig a little bit. And that's what Karen and Sharon did for my last book. And they were wonderful.
Boy, that would just, I can't help but flashing on how fun it would be for AI to just have all that.
I know.
If there was an AI that just had every single one of your journals, every single one of your Facebook posts, and then it's just in there, and you could be like, show me every entry about racquetball. Show me, you know, like any kind of example you wanted to think of.
Well, you know, and someone, that's the whole idea of this collating. If I had somebody that would come in, I'm looking to hire someone as a project to do exactly this thing of translating the journal's actual words. I mean, not all of it's worth reading, but there are little life events that keep it going. And it's like 40 years. So you could have like you could have a log of all the January 1st.
Right.
You know,
right.
all the January 2nd, or, you know, you could pick out a year, or you could pick out somebody's birthday, and on his birthday, this is what happened. And some days nothing would happen one year and something would happen another year, but you'd get a picture of the actual life of the person, which may or may not be interesting, but it's there.
Right.
If you ever had an interest to see how it could be.
Digitizing it is a great first step, no matter what. Just
to do what now?
Without even the AI thoughts or whatever, just digitizing it.
Yeah.
Having it all so it's...
And see, I've done pieces of that at different times, and I've had people do it. None of them are around anymore.
Right.
To help me.
Do those files
so I don't
still
know where
exist?
things are. Yeah, somewhere up in some cloud somewhere. I think they do. But who knows? just like all that Frogville stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody went through there, there's some amazing stuff.
Right.
Whew.
Yeah.
How many
Great
how many things did you
conversations.
release?
I think he's talking about just like the forum, the thought swap parlor. And
Oh.
stuff.
But yeah,
Just a lot of great conversations, content.
and they have dates on them because those are all,
That's gone. That stuff's
Yeah.
all gone.
yeah.
As far as I know, that's gone.
Well, I have some of it, as you saw. I have some of it printed out from the day.
Wow. I'd love to lay eyes on that.
It was I mean, a lot of just whoever, I can't remember the people he was writing to, but just very creative. Just, they'd send him something like at 2:30 at night because there was no, everything's dated and the time and stuff. I was telling him, what were you doing? I'm so late all the time. Like 2:30 in the morning, he'd get this, some guy rambling on some, stuff, and then he'd write back. And one lady was writing him. She was getting ready to move to London. Didn't know what she was going to do. She wanted to do this and she wanted to do that. And he never went back and said, there would be conversations, and he never went back and said, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that," or everything was fine. So then he said, maybe you should be a nurse, just you can't decide what you want to do. He said the reasons why. You're a very compassionate person. You're very gave some valid reasons. And then she wrote back, and then he wrote back, "I apologize for telling you to be a nurse." It was the one thing that and he said he had been up for a couple hours. Why did I tell her to be a nurse? All the other stuff was let it ride, but oh my God, why did I tell somebody to be a nurse?
That was a really unique thing because it was like I said before, that it was before Facebook and all that stuff.
Right.
So it was still really novel to be interacting with people on the internet like
Yeah.
that. Was it just called Mr. Moore's Classroom?
Now, what was it
That-
called?
Well, I had a Mr. Moore's classroom
what
another
was-
time.
The whole thing was the Thought Swap Parlor, but his special
I think it was
room
just
in
Ask
there.
Mr. Moore.
Ask Mr. Moore anything kind of
This
thing.
one had a logo, like an E, then two other letters, conversate. What was it? I can't remember what it was. Each one had that little logo up in the corner.
I'm going to check in on the chats. I haven't really been looking too much. Good to see everybody. Hey, Margie, Magpie, Admiral Balls, John Dotson.
All right. Hey, John.
Love Dad. He is the whole show. Yeah.
Oh man!
Wow.
Thank you, Sharman. We appreciate you writing in.
Here's somebody on YouTube named Some Guy.
I know him.
You know Some Guy? Noble Creatures. I guess he's talking about... Oh, here's somebody, Magpie, remembers the Thought Swap Parlor.
Oh, yeah.
Fine.
See, that's how I got to know Magpie.
So, just before we get too far away from it, are owls wise? I like the notion that we just think so because they look more like us than any other bird. So we just project onto them that they're...
Well, I think I would probably hinge on your definition of wise.
Right,
I mean, how you determine the wisdom of a bird.
right.
I mean, if you can answer me that, then I'll tell you
Well,
what
I
they
mean,
are.
like crows are provenly incredibly intelligent when it comes to problem solving.
Yeah, I'd say a crow's brain has developed a lot more than an owl's. An owl, just by simply, not that their brain is not developed, I'm not trying to be critical of their species, but I'm saying that they're directed in a certain type of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nighttime, no offense, but you're worthless. but no,
Yeah, no one's
they're-
watching. So.
They're trained to live at night, which is an amazing thing, and explains their eyes, by the way. The whole focusing thing. But yeah, there's no reason to think that they're any more wise as a bird than a parrot or another bird.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a bird. Even a crow is still just a bird. Now, before you get all pissed off, you bird lovers, we are just a mammal, okay? You know, that's what we are. We're mammals and they're birds. So I'm not trying to criticize an entire phylum.
Right, but we're not just a mammal
Well, if you want to talk about
in
human
one
beings,
sense, but right.
well, yeah, but on a lot of on most levels we are.
Yeah.
No, I have two things. I have a question about owls and a statement. You know, my work
Thanks for the warning.
my work screen, you know, it comes up a random picture every couple of weeks, some different picture, and now it's an owl flying. I didn't know owls had boots. Like it's got like these big feet that look like it's wearing boots.
Those are tufts. Those are just furry feathers that when he flies, the air gets in
Oh,
it. It looks like a big boot.
It looks like it's got Uggs
But
on or something.
yeah, yeah, they do. But that's not. Those are just feathers
Okay.
around the claw, just like any
Okay.
other.
They don't take them off at night to go to bed.
I don't think.
Okay. And then the
They
question.
put them on one at a time, just like the rest of us.
Just like the rest of us mammals. And then the question I have, and this might just be me, why do I think that owls live for like 100 years? They look like they live forever. Is that true, or they just have a short little lifespan like other birds?
Well, I don't think they live any longer than a lot of other birds, but they are carnivores, which makes them more successful in a lot of ways. So they do live longer, and they can live a pretty long life, but not 100 years or anything like that.
Just when you see a picture of them, maybe that's why they look wise
I
too.
think they look
old.
They look ageless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a distinguished animal looking at you. Like,
Yeah.
I've been here longer than you, and I know more than you, and I wear boots.
What's
Yeah.
the lifespan of an owl? Depends on the kind. The great horned owls 10 to 15 years in the wild, up to 30 in captivity.
Wow.
That's pretty long.
That's what I would have said.
It's so fascinating. Barn owl 4 to 10 in the wild, up to 20 plus in captivity.
Wow.
Is that wear and tear, or is that predators?
Both.
But it seems like if you're talking about like I could see averages being affected by that predator thing, but if you're just talking about an individual owl, it'll live 4 to 10 in the wild and 20 plus in captivity. That's a pretty huge.
I don't think so. You're talking about somebody's getting fed 3 meals a day and taken care of, and they're warm, and they don't have to worry about a blizzard or anything. And the others are out there having to feed themselves. They got to kill something every day.
Right.
Sometimes there's nothing to kill, and then you die.
I was told that there's these butterflies, a caterpillar, you know, it turns into a butterfly. Their lifespan is so short, they don't even have like a mouth or a way to eat. They're just born, they breed, they don't even develop a way to stay alive.
Wait, what are you talking about?
It's some kind, I can't remember. Somebody was telling me some in-depth stuff about some butterflies they had seen. And they said they live most of their life as a caterpillar, and they turn into a butterfly, but they're basically they turn into a butterfly just to breed more butterflies. So they don't develop any way to eat. They don't have a way to take in food or
The butterfly
nourishment.
part?
Right.
Wow.
Just breed and then.
Is that true?
Oh yeah, well, you know, the whole thing about butterflies is they're just on their way out. They're in a magnificent show of beauty and sexual intrigue. They just turn from the larval form that they always knew themselves to be to, well, they were in their pupa for a long time dreaming about being larvae. But they never dreamed of being a butterfly. And then one old day, the hormones just kicked in. They couldn't control themselves, and everything started changing, and they went up and had sex 3,000 times and died before they could hit the ground.
Wow.
And that's the life of a butterfly.
I'm jealous.
Now, some of them will live a few weeks, you know, and eat the, you know, pollen and have fun, but most of them just have sex and die. Well, most of the butterflies I used to hang out with.
Come on, baby, wake up, wake up. What's wrong with you?
There's pollen in the other room.
You're the 3,000th person that's been in here. Leave me alone. I just want to die. Oh man. And I'm so crazy. I mean, this is just my own ignorance. But like, I just know how like we live, and I know like how long people live, or like a dog or a cat or something. There's so many animals I don't have any idea of their, 99% of the animals I don't have any clue of their lifespan, what they start off as and turn into. And
I can tell you. I know almost all of them.
I know, that's why it's fun hanging out with you. You have all kinds of weird knowledge.
What animal lives the longest?
Well, animal. I mean, talking about sequoia trees or.
No, animals.
Didn't you see that it was on the internet that they found that whale? It's like 625 years old.
No,
or so.
come on.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I saw that on the internet yesterday.
Well, that
Wow.
beat anything I would have said. I was going to say whale, but I didn't. That's a long time.
Is that? I guess I won't look it up. It seems impossible.
And I don't know how they would know that.
Rings. You cut it in half and count the rings.
The stories it tells. I guided Columbus over here. You knew Columbus? Yes, very well. We had sex 3,000 times. I mean, if you basically get a picture of it, how do you know how something is? And then that huge squid they just got the first picture of, like a week or two ago, like this 20-foot squid or something that they didn't even know existed.
Man, I need your algorithm.
I was just going to say,
My
we
feed
know what
sucks.
his algorithm's feeding him.
Yeah.
Oceanography.
You played it right. You did something right in your formative years on social media. Mine's all garbage.
Well, because most of it's at work when it's slow, so I can't really look up the stuff I'm interested in. I gotta let it just roll across. Damn, more oceanography. Oh god.
What are the whales doing?
Man.
Who lives longer, a whale or an owl? Tell me. Which one is wiser?
Some guy says butterflies drink nectar.
Yep.
That's it, folks. Have a good night. We'll see you at episode 100 next week. That's so. Are they pollinating animals? Like, do they take the nectar and travel, or is that other type of insect?
Yeah, accidentally or whatever. They take it from one plant to the other. Yeah, it's exactly what's going on for the flower. And the butterflies getting the meal.
Right.
We all just not to go headlong into it, but just to dip our toe into the ominous. Have anybody been following the bee collapse situation?
No, I haven't heard about it.
No.
Bumblebee?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but someone put something on Facebook a couple weeks ago that was like 70% of all the bees in America had died.
What?
And I immediately was like, no way. I'm going to Google this. Like, I have a pretty good nose when it comes to BS on social media. And
I see
so
what you did
I
there.
Googled it immediately. I'm like, why don't people, I'm like mumbling to myself, why don't people fact check stuff before they share this misinformation? The typical, and I Google it.
It stung you
and
when you
sure
read that,
enough,
didn't
it
it?
was like, they weren't right, but it was like 60-some%. It was like a huge, crazy number. I was like, oh my God.
Wait a minute, just like, in what time period this happened?
Like over the last year or something.
Oh, wow.
They had really rebounded too.
They had?
The bee population was in decline for a number of years over the past decade, and I guess maybe up until this occurrence, it had been on the upswing. correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think it had been on the upswing and things were looking good for the bees.
Mm.
So I wonder, I don't know. I
No,
haven't heard about this.
Was there a reason provided?
They're still trying to figure it out because it could be a virus or a fungus or, a lot of it's industrial like beehives, the colonies or whatever. That's where a lot of the statistics, not just from the wild, but from the billions of bees that people raise for various reasons.
Was it a lot of it to do to the windmills that are killing all the birds too? Oh my gosh! A couple of days ago at work, we have a lady at work that brings her little, 2-year-old daughter to work with her every day. Just the sweetest, nicest, non-problem little kid in the world. But one day she was just having a meltdown. You could hear her in the office screaming. And I didn't have anything to do. It was my lunch break. I said, "You mind if I take her in the back? We have like a big fenced-in backyard at work, and just run around with her and wear her out." They're like, "No, take her out." And I know a lot of people are like scared. I'm not scared of bees at all. I always feel like I just sit there and act nonchalant. They're not gonna bother me. But I know friends all the time like, "Oh my God, there's a bee!" Like want to get away from it. So this little girl, we have a bird bath out there, and there was water and there was bees in it. And this little girl was just going out and just touching them on their back while they were in the water. And they would all rise. There was maybe like 6 or 7. They would rise up and just go around her. But she showed no fear. She was just like I'm just another part of nature. They'd go back and she just touched one on the back again. And I'm like, man, is that something her mom lets her do? Or if she gets stung, her mom going to be like, "Are you an idiot? What are you letting her touch the bees for?" But it was like the weirdest thing. They never came after her or anything. They would all fly up and sort of like just go around her like, this is just nature's occurring. Let's just go back and see if she touches us again. It's sort of beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it's a beautiful image.
Yeah.
That's a sweet little honeybee for you or something. Because I guess there's so many different varieties.
Yeah.
You got wasps, hornets, various kinds of bees. I definitely had, like, when I was doing landscaping in college and stuff, I had a whole scene once where I hit the wrong hive or whatever it's called. Is that what they're called? Where they collect in the wild? And the swarm got me.
Oh.
It was like the cartoons where you see them run and jump in the lake or whatever to get away from it.
Man.
Except I didn't have a lake to jump into.
So they were actually focused on you attacking.
But have you ever been attacked by a swarm of bees?
No, but my children have.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been on the receiving end of it.
There's no experience like that.
I had a real experience like that because I used to, for summers, I'd operate with the Forest Service. I had a summer job when I was teaching. We're YCC, Youth Coordinator. And I'd take crews out and we'd do chopping and clean up the places and do different projects for the Forest Service. And one day I had the whole crew up, and I'd go from one end to the other of a short rural road, Forest Service road, and they were chopping and everything. So I came down and checked on everybody. Everybody was all right. And I came back up, and there was a helmet and a hatchet in the middle of the road.
Oh, wow.
I drove 15 more feet. There was another helmet and a hatchet. So I followed this trail of my kids' equipment going down this hill. It was scary as it could be. I couldn't figure out what's going on. So I got to the bottom of the hill in the creek, and they were all standing in the river, half naked. One of them had hit a hive of bees and had chased them down the hill. And
just like the cartoons.
Just like you were saying, as a cartoon. They were throwing everything off and jumping in the water to get away from the bees.
Wow.
So that was the weirdest visual image of driving down that hill, just thinking that a bear maybe ate him as he went along. I don't know. That's what I remember when you told that story.
That's a great story.
I hadn't thought of that in a long time.
When was that?
Oh, back in the 70s, probably late 70s. You might not have been around.
Well, I was around during all the 70s.
That's true.
You were
I
snowed in
keep,
up in
I
Boston.
keep forgetting how old you are.
I'm old.
You were too young to work the force, so you couldn't like keep track of how old you were then. Then your son to work the force with us. So the kids seem to like that. These were kids that wanted to do it, or they were like juvenile delinquents or something.
For what now?
Were these like kids that wanted to do it, or they were like juvie hall type kids?
They were kids that were doing it. A lot of it was public service, but they were good. You know, they tended to be good kids. They tended to be city kids,
Right.
which I thought that was really good for them to get out in the woods a little bit and just see nature just a little bit. And we weren't doing hard work, or we weren't putting in any stress or anything. It was a good atmosphere for them in the summer to get out of the classroom or the whatever room they were in and get outside. So I liked that job. I felt good doing that.
It's a great thing.
You'd have been a fun person to work for, I bet.
Yeah.
Fill their heads with stories.
Well, I don't know about that.
So was it different kids each year?
Yeah, you never got any. They were like 13 to 15.
Right.
Good. It's a good middle school age. It was a good age. Not to try to teach them anything, but to be out in the woods with them was all right. Yeah, that's hazardous duty pay there, teaching at junior high. Whew. Those people are amazing.
What do you think would be the hardest age for teachers to teach, or is it really different teachers have the personality cut out for different age
just
groups?
depends on the individual. Like I was built for people that are already thinking. I like to talk about developing in the brain and all that kind of stuff, but when you're dealing with a third grader, you're not working on that level. It's just a different ball game. I mean, I substituted for a third grade class one day, and it was more work than I had ever done in my whole life for 1 week. And I just was amazed at how organized you had to be and how much craziness was in the room. And, I liked a little control. Most people do. So, but somebody else might find
has that control just by the nature
that's what
of their
they like
spirit.
doing, and they like being around that child at that age. It takes everybody's different that way, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
A lot of people aren't comfortable teaching chemistry, and it's just just for whatever reason it's not mastered that often. But once you learn it, it's like anything else. You just teach what you learned and move on.
What was your college degree in?
Biology. Yeah.
That makes more sense than chemistry, I guess.
I took only enough chemistry to get the science credits. So you had to take organic and general, and I took a couple electives in the department that were leaned more my way, but I wasn't a chemistry person at the time.
Were you thinking teacher from the beginning?
I was thinking I didn't know what I wanted to do from the beginning, and teaching just kind of fell into my lap because I was 2S, and I wanted to get a deferment. That was a deferment you got for being in school.
All right.
And so I needed, what was it? I can't remember the sequence there, but yeah, I needed to have all that. What were we talking about there?
About deciding to what you were majoring in college and the crossroads.
Yeah, the chemistry never was anything I was interested in until I got into teaching, and I didn't start out teaching chemistry. They just, at the end of 1 year, they couldn't find anybody, and I said I'd do it because it was on my degree that I took enough hours to get a credit for my science credit. That's what I was going to talk about. I had to get a science credit for that. So I had just enough hours, and I was legal, so they put me in there, and I found out I really liked it once I got in there. But I also I think it helped that I didn't really like it all the way through, so I understood kids that were having trouble with it. I think it was easier for me to identify with that. And the ones that could get it didn't need me anyway. So that's kind of the way it played out. I tried to get out of their way. Some of those really sharp kids, it only takes you about a week to figure out which ones are smarter than you are.
Did you take chemistry, Grayson, in high school?
Yeah.
What was and that was at Stanton High, right?
Yeah. Or at the time, Robert E. Lee High School, because that was my sophomore year. I think I took.
I wonder if he would have been in your. Do you remember the room number?
No.
Do you remember what your room number was?
Well, I know it's the same room because did you have Mrs. Davis?
Yeah.
Oh,
She took over from me.
I see.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, she was
So you had the tables with the Bunsen burners and the sinks at every desk, and
yeah, it was a cool place. But I don't know, I sucked at chemistry. I'm gonna be honest. That was like the only science class that I did not excel in because it was very mathy, and I just could not get the math down with it. So that was really it. But
it's
I
mathy.
don't know. It was pretty mathy. The way at least the way that we were doing it, it was very mathy. Yeah.
Huh.
Oh yeah.
What's the mathy?
Just the balancing equations, the Avogadro's number.
What's that?
It's the number of particles in a mole of anything. There's a lot of kids still have nightmares about the mole. And I'm not talking about the little mammal. I'm talking about the concept of what a mole is in chemistry.
What is a
I don't
mole?
even remember even hearing that.
No.
Yeah, Grayson, what's a mole?
I have no memory of that at all.
Do you
Anybody have any
do you know what
idea?
Avogadro's number is? Does that ring a bell?
No.
Besides
The
a
mole
great
does.
name for a band.
The mole does, but I haven't not the other.
Yeah, mole would mess with a lot of people.
Well, teach us a little bit about that.
A mole is the number of particles that something has in it. Well, that number is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. I'm not making that up. 10 to the 23rd. Think of what that number is.
That's just 10 times 10 times 10, 23
That's more
times.
people than are at a Trump election thing that'll show up to his things. It's almost.
But he
that-
has infinite.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. But
He had the largest in history, so it's hard
well,
to
that's
He has more people than there are people.
he has a mole.
No, wait a minute. So a mole. So I think I misunderstood you. You said it's how many things. So something could have like 10 moles.
If you
But
had
the mo-
10, if
but
you
the
had
mole
10
is always the
moles,
same
you'd
measure.
have 10 times. You'd have 6.02 times 10 to the 24th. You just have that many more.
I don't understand.
And
But
we have no idea what you're talking about.
And who figures this out?
Well, I'm talking about. Let's back up.
Oh, yeah.
The definition of a mole is a certain number of particles. Now, y'all are hung up on that number. So let's just forget about that number. In fact, let's just give it a name and call it Avogadro's number. So Avogadro's number is the number of particles in a mole of anything. So if you have a mole of oxygen molecules, you have that number of molecules. If you have a mole of people, you have that number of people.
But it's all, the mole is always the same.
Same number.
Okay, so but you might have more moles in you than I have in me.
Yes.
Okay.
And that deals with quantity.
Right. Okay.
So moles is actually a measurement of quantity in chemistry. And it's used because you can translate in from one element to another in compounds, because a mole of hydrogen, let's say, is only 2 grams because they're so light. There's only two, in a hydrogen atom, there's only 1 proton, which give it its mass. So the mole is also talking about a different mass, but a constant mass compared to the number of particles. So depending on the weight of the particles. So if water is 18, that's its weight for 1 molecule of water, and say hydrogen's 2, then the hydrogen is going to float up to the water because it's less dense and it's going to be less. But you don't have that. You'd have the same number of particles, but they wouldn't weigh the same because each particle has a different weight. So you go from moles.
Are you trying to make this easier or more confusing?
Yeah. See, that's exactly what I did. I took a turn and realized when I took that turn, I looked back and you weren't there. I'm sorry,
That's all right.
but I'm out of practice with moles.
Yeah.
But you can see why it's a hard concept to teach, because I still have people that'll write down in something and say, yeah, I remember you, Mr. Moore. I now still don't know what a mole is. That's a hard thing. That's a sad way to be remembered.
But a mole.
What is Avogadro's number?
But a mole is a constant number.
It's a constant number of particles.
Okay. Okay. That makes it a little bit easier.
Avogadro's number is what Dad said, 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. It represents the number of particles, like atoms, molecules, or ions, in 1 mole of a substance. It's a cornerstone of chemistry, kind of like a bridge between the atomic world and the scale we can actually measure. So it's just confusing, no matter what.
Well, that made sense to me more
Well,
than
sure
me.
it did, because you already understand it.
I know.
Was that easy for you to learn, or did that take a while to get hammered into your brain? Or did that sort of come natural to you when you were learning?
Yeah,
So-
that's an interesting thing. Some things ain't like that you could say were mathematical. I don't think I have a really strong mathematical mind.
But
I
in a
have-
way, you sort of do.
But in a way I do, because I have a synthetic mind. I like to take different things and put it together and come up with conclusions. Now, I'm not right a lot, but I do a lot of practicing, just like you're saying with what you're doing with your practicing. I do think about it a lot. So I think when your brain is active, like, if I have nothing else to do, I would go over and get a crossword puzzle. And it'll be an hour, and I'll be engrossed in that. And I measure how many times I have to Google something, because those crossword puzzle people put some weird shit in there. It pisses me off. Nobody could know that. But that's another show after advertising.
But like Nathan said, the way you described it, you would think it had been like maybe 4 or 5 years ago they discovered a mole. Like, how did people way back in the day discover that?
That's a good question. But it wasn't that far back in the day. So it was probably in the 1890s.
Oh wow!
So they were doing, with uranium and doing stuff with particles.
Listen to this, Kyle. 1 mole is a unit in chemistry that represents 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd particles. Those could be atoms, molecules, ions, or even electrons. It's kind of like a chemist's dozen, except instead of 12, it's 602, way more than, I don't even know what you would call that, except for Avogadro's number. It's
God, that's a lot of numbers.
It's a lot of zeros. 1 mole of carbon atoms equals 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd carbon atoms, about 12 grams of carbon. 1 mole of water molecules is Avogadro's number, about 18 grams of water. God, it's so... Oh, it hurts my brain to even think about it. Why? How did that number happen?
Because each particle that you're talking about, each water molecule has 18 positive particles, which means that if you take that and imagine each particle weighing a gram, then you get that number of grams. So by understanding the makeup of the particles that you're dealing with, you can figure out how much they weigh if you have that number of particles. So you asked...
But where did this 6.022 times 10
I was
to
just
the
going to say,
23rd?
that works its way backwards. What they figured out was what they were comparing everything to was exactly 12 grams of carbon. That's pure carbon that they could find in, coal or whatever. If they got 12 grams of that and they burn it, then they got exactly whatever number, 44 grams of carbon dioxide. They got exactly the same amount each time. And that's the beginning of chemistry. It started figuring out that if you did this and this, you always got that every single time. So there's a pattern here.
Well, that makes sense.
So what is that pattern? And that study led to chemistry. And all those numbers started to make sense. And it got exciting.
Did you say that you started with so many grams of carbon and burned it and got more grams of carbon dioxide from it?
Sure. Because you're going from C.
Is gram a unit of weight?
Yeah. So C12 plus O2, 32, 16 times 2, oxygen's O2, yields, arrow, CO2, carbon dioxide, made up of that one carbon, 12, and that 32 grams of oxygen. And if you burn carbon completely, you always get 44 grams of carbon dioxide. Always. You have done something magical or telepathic or something amazing.
How did he know?
Yeah. How do you know it's going to be 44 grams? And it is. So then you go back and figure out what's going on. But the numbers come backwards. So you figure all this stuff out with weights and grams, but then eventually they figure out with probably with X-rays, they learned how to magnify the size of the particles they were dealing with and figure out how many particles there was. And so for 12 grams of carbon, it came out to be 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. And so that number was developed in retrospect of the 12 grams. Did that make sense?
Sort of.
All I know is that our viewership has shot up to over 10,000 people.
When was Avogadro?
No, the way you explained that made it a lot easier.
Good.
I can
But
sort
still,
of.
that's a lot to do in one night, too. I mean, had a hour.
So this all happened around the same time they first discovered dinosaurs.
Yeah, there were people doing all kinds of studying.
It was the early 1800s.
There you
What
go.
a time that was.
It was a busy time.
Now, was there a lot of danger studying chemistry back in the day, like people blowing up and?
I believe there was. I think there were a lot of accidents. That's why they had assistants.
I might not make it. You stay in the other room and carry on my studies.
All right, let's grab a card here. We're getting close to the finish line.
Here's Nathan's science cards.
Here we go. Have you ever stolen anything? Yeah, what was that laugh?
Gosh, look at him. He's like, should I admit that I killed a man and robbed a bank?
How do I answer this?
I did. And this haunts me. I remember when I first moved to Richmond, I could just an urge. Like I didn't need it or anything, but I was in line at a Safeway and I stole a chapstick for like
Ooh.
no reason at all. Like I still to this day I can't think why did I do that. So that I actually stole that, and that it's just like I can't even explain why I did it. I took it. But when there used to be the Woolworths out at the mall, you remember the Stanton Mall? There was a record I really wanted. These were all cut out records. They were cheap, and one was like
Cut out? What does that mean?
like they're not selling. If they have too many of them, they just try to get rid of them. So they mark the price down. They cut like a little slit in the
Oh,
corner.
right.
So it was this album. It was like $2.49, and they were like different. I think the most expensive one in there was probably like $3.99. This is when records cost like $8 or something. So I remember it was $2.49, and there was a sticker that was loose on another record. It was $1.99, and I pried it off and stuck it over the one I wanted. Now that one I know why I did it. I did it because I saved 50 cents, but I really wanted that record. So I still feel guilty about that too, but I can justify that in my mind.
You didn't have the 50 cents you needed?
No, I did have it. And I would have never even done it if that $1.99 hadn't been like sticking up, like it was half off. I just said, I could take this and put it over. I did feel guilty about that, but that chapstick, to this day, I have no clue why I did that. Oh.
What was your laugh about?
Oh, I was just thinking about the idea of stealing things.
It amuses him so
It
much.
just tickled you.
I've stolen moles worth of things.
Just a mole. Just a mole. worth.
Stole a mole of hearts. No.
Did you ever walk out? Did you ever go anywhere and be drinking and walk out?
Oh yeah, I was well known for that. That was Ernie's MO.
He'd make it right the next day.
Oh yeah, they knew me. I was well known.
I don't know if I ever confessed this to you, but there was a time when I was a little kid. Dad and I were in a store downtown Stanton down here, and for some reason, the shopkeeper was just watching me like a hawk, like he didn't trust me. And it just wouldn't stop staring at me and follow me around the store and stuff. So I pretended to steal stuff.
Oh, God.
Did I ever confess this to you?
I don't think so.
And sure enough, the guy accused me of shoplifting. And Dad was there, and this is I still wonder about like what the implications this are of my personality, because I was manipulating this scene. Like I knew Dad was there, I knew there would be a confrontation, and the guy accused me, and then you came up like, what's going on here? And so I emptied my pockets and didn't have anything, and you let the guy know that none of this was okay, and we left, and I had a little bounce to my step. Do you remember any of that?
Nah.
F the man. I remember I was walking home from school one time with two friends, and we went to the little store, and the one guy said, I'm going to steal some gum at the front. And I was like petrified. I was like, man, y'all do what you want. I'm not going to be around. And I remember hearing the guy just say, put it back. Like he saw him take it when they were walking out, and they just put it back. And I remember when I'm yelling, Kyle! We all ran out of the store.
No, I don't think I did. I'm sure I did.
You don't think you ever stole anything? Is that what you're saying?
Not in a conscious way that was bad that I remember. I mean, maybe little things. And, and I do distinguish between taking something and stealing something.
What's the difference?
Well, sometimes it's just nobody's really claiming it, and I want it more than anybody else does, so I take it.
Mm-hmm.
And,
And that's democracy, people.
it's America. That's what it is. I think we're all like that a little bit. And I don't know when you know, when you get to it's a moral issue. When you start stealing, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So you're asking me, did I ever do anything wrong? Well, you know, I've done a lot of things wrong, but I don't know if that's the quality I want to put on this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where I'm consciously doing something wrong. Because, like you say, I usually, one of the other things that comes with a good deductive brain like I have is the ability to make up a lot of excuses for your own behavior.
Right.
And so when you say steal, I said, nah, I haven't stolen. But then if you put me in a court of law and said, did you take this and was it yours? And I'd probably be guilty of
Right.
more than I think I should be.
Now, with your magician hands, you weren't tempted to take things?
I'm maybe the worst of the three of us when it comes to this question. I don't think I was ever really bad, but probably more stories than I could remember. I remember there was a phase when we lived in New Mexico where we had this whole thing about stealing spice, because they were so expensive, and like we had no money, but every time we go to the store, we'd steal a different spice. And be like, oh, I got some cumin. Like, we wanted a spice rack, and we couldn't afford it. Like, that stuff was strangely expensive.
Here comes the Spice Girls. Keep your eyes on.
But it became a little. It became a little bit of a
They
game.
were known throughout the West. The Spice Gang. It was a horrible time.
Now, were you nervous doing it, or you were confident you just walk out and not?
I wasn't even the ringleader of this whole thing. I feel like
That's the smart. You should have led with that. That's the smart thing to do. I didn't want to do it.
I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to be in the gang.
They were going to kill me if I didn't steal that cumin.
The Spice Gang. But yeah, I mean, I was not above it. I think the thing that kept me from it was fear of getting caught. Like that, I never had much confidence in that I was not the most obvious thief in the place or whatever. I never. It was not being good at it more than having like high moral.
Right.
Just feeling like a glowing thing
Right.
all the time kept me from stealing stuff. Like, but it wasn't because I was a good person
Right.
and thought it was wrong to do.
No, I still have that feeling like I'll go into Target or something and I'll just be not paying attention, put my hands in my coat pocket and just be, and I'm like, God, they probably think I'm stealing. Then I like try to act real like, look, I'm not stealing. You know, then you just want to leave. Like, I'm leaving. I didn't do anything. Shaking my jacket out. Look, what's wrong with you, kid? Get out of here.
I have to confess and remind Nathan that I talked him into a heist one time.
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
It was out of necessity, but it still probably wasn't right. But we had a faulty piece of equipment, and we were on the road.
Oh, I don't even know if we can tell that story.
Maybe we shouldn't. Is this an off-the-air story? Yeah, we might be implicating things.
I'll tell you one there.
Oh, that was a good one. That is a good off-air story,
We'll tell it
though.
off-air.
I got one.
It's
so,
an on-air story?
Yeah, it's an on-air story. Just don't show my face or anything. But I was at the big corporate place that everybody goes to right at the edge of town, you know what I mean, that people need groceries and anything you can get,
Right.
you can go there to get it, right? So I was in there and we were having a grill out that night, and I was looking at these ribeye steaks, and they were like the USDA, like big, fat, juicy steaks,
Oh,
and then
man.
it was $54 for 3 of them, and I was like, that just seems like a crime to me that they're even charging these poor people that go to this institution this type of money for these steaks. So I just, I was like, all right, well, I'll save it and I'll do the rest of my grocery shopping. And then, if I still want it or if I don't want it, I'll put it back if I don't think it's worth the money. So I put it on the bottom of my cart, like the little dog food part where you can just stick the heavy stuff on the bottom. And then I filled up my cart, and then I was walking around, and I honestly, I don't know. People, this is why I'm telling it, like, without showing my face, but I don't know. I went to the checkout, scanned all my items, and then the attendant didn't look at me or say anything, and then the guy like checked my receipt. He was like, looks good. He just didn't look under the cart, and I walked out, and I had
Oh,
ribeye steaks that night.
Man.
So,
Most delicious steaks you ever had. And
man.
you still don't even know how to get that level of flavor out of something.
oh my God! And the thrill, the adrenaline.
That's what I'm
just
saying.
That was cooked in
cooking
there.
Yeah,
steak,
that
too.
romance
It was
gets
man.
cooked into the flavor of it.
felt
You're
like
just
Danny
like,
Ocean, man. It was crazy. It was awesome.
You should have invited Nathan over with some spices. Get that steak really good.
I had some red pepper flakes we could have.
Guys,
that-
They're already hot.
so at least yours you got something out of it. The rest of our stories are just like nothing. I got to go into prison. What'd you get? Some chapstick. It was,
Moisturized.
We did it again, folks. Look at that. We've been running over lately. It's fun. It's just 8:35 over
wow.
there. Awesome.
Sorry for keeping y'all up.
Now, what's that instrument called?
An owl. Now that I've seen the Golden Highway, now that I've heard from the best, now that I've had a real woman, I'll never settle for less. Saw with my own eyes a true magician. I swear she pulled my secret from her chest. I tried, but I just could not explain it. Now I'll never settle for less. The only trouble is the midnight melting, exploring the heights upon wings of excess. It's a long, long fall to the palace of wisdom, but I'll never settle for less. Once I heard a melody so sweet it made me cry, felt to me like a caress that took away all my worries. Now I'll never settle for less. Now that I've laid in that river just one more day and I'll be blessed. I got too much love left to give her, and I'll never settle for less. Lately I've been spilling all over, even lost my keys just leaning west, 'cause that's where I was graceful. Now I'll never settle for less. No, I'll never settle for less. I'll never settle, I guess. Thank you so much. Wonderful to be with you again. We will see you next time, Jabberjaw.
100.
Oh, that's right.
Episode 100.
Coming up. What does that even mean? Last night was the year anniversary of my